Wow. All right, everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Peyton, and today I'm just going to be going over why I started this channel in the first place, right? Because it's kind of, just out of the blue is like, I'm going to start a channel. No. I wanted to do this for a hot minute, but I was just never confident enough in my physique to really ever post about it. I'm still not, to be honest. But it's one of those things that, like, I'm getting better every time I record myself in the gym, right? I'm getting over that weird fear of like not being big enough or not having enough size on my frame. Like, I guess that was just my big concern. Was like, oh, I'm just not big enough. You gotta be huge, like all the other guys you see on the internet, to make content and ever grow on YouTube or grow on Instagram or anything like that. And I just, I was like, you know what? I just need to get over that irrational fear and just start doing it. So that was the big motivator. But then, first off, like, my number one reason was holding myself accountable, right? So I kind of noticed over the past like year and a half, right? I've moved into my own spot, and so I was cooking my own meals, like running my own schedule entirely, like being an adult grown up. And it was great. I was hitting good lifts for the first like month. Um, and then I just kind of got stagnant. Life got busy, I didn't prioritize training in the gym nearly as much as I should have, could have, and wish I would have. But that's another reason why I started this, right? Because I want to be hitting unbelievable lifts every single day, in and out. Um, I'm tired of like coming back and being like, oh, I left something there. I could have done more. So that's my big goal with this, is just because somebody could see this, It's like, and as crazy as that sounds, like for me, that's enough of a mental switch to be like, oh man, I have to give this everything all the time, 24/7. So it's just a huge way for me to help motivate myself. Whether or not it ever grows or gains any traction, it's just a motivator for myself. So that's the first reason I do it, right? And then under that accountability section is just being able to look back at myself and see, like, okay, I've improved. I've grown over the past 6 months, right? I can go look back and look at my videos, and be like, wow, my weight's really jumped, and like, wow, my physique has really improved, or like, oh man, I'm clearly doing something wrong here because my shoulders or my biceps or my chest are not growing as much as I would want, or maybe you're not seeing results. And it's like, okay, I got to switch something up. I'm clearly not doing something right. At whether it's more volume, heavier weight, like, just play around with it, figure out what's going to work for you, right? So then, third is just don't get comfortable with being comfortable. Don't be okay with being comfortable. Um, and that was another thing that I just found myself over this past year and a half. I was just comfortable. Like the gym, I was going every day, but it was just routine. I wasn't pushing my sets. I wasn't pushing those extra reps. I wasn't pushing my workouts. I just kind of felt stagnant, and I don't want to feel like that ever again in the gym. Because I looked back at a picture of myself from like a year ago, and I was like, you wouldn't even know I've been putting in work for a year. And to say that out loud, it's like, golly, you've been doing something for a year and you didn't see any results from it. Like, sucks, man. So I'm done with that. I'm done not giving it 110% every time. So second is I want to do a show, right? I've never stepped on stage. I've always thought about it. I've always been like, oh, that would be fun. That would be cool. Whatever. But I never was like committed, right? And I'm committed. In 2026, I will step on stage and I will compete in a bodybuilding show. I don't know what weight class or what division. I don't even know where you would begin to put my physique, right? But that's also why I have all of 2025 to try and add size and put on weight to my frame, right? Um, which is why I'm giving myself a year, because I kind of was a bum for the last year. So I really want to go at it and come into this thing solid. So that's my big goal, is I want to just be able to track the journey and be very transparent, right? Because as someone like me who's not overly large, right? I'm not very like mass heavy. Um, and I'm not the craziest physique out there. I'm not even a crazy physique. Like, I'm very average. And I just think that that's something that's missing out there. I feel like you don't see very average physiques. You always have to see these crazy, unbelievable physiques, whether natural or unnatural, for a lot of people, it's probably just not attainable, right? Whereas like my physique is attainable by 70 to 90% of the population. I'm nothing special. I'm nothing crazy, but like I can be a good benchmark and a good motivator for you to be like, oh man, I can look like that. You know, it's very doable, very doable. I've trained good in my life for about 3 years, you know, of proper good training, but I've never had the diet on point with that. So that's just one thing that is going to be very interesting to see is I've never had to diet down to anywhere near that lean. Um, I've done it for fun. I've done mini cuts, right? But again, was I really tracking my calories? Was I actually weighing stuff out? No. It was step on the scale, look in the mirror. Oh, I'm getting a little leaner. Yay. And then I would jump back into eating a ton of food and whatever I want, right? So that's just something that's got to get cleaned up, and it will get cleaned up, you know? Like I just started a proper bulk. I weigh out my food. I weigh out everything. I track everything. Because I'm done not seeing progress. I'm done not making gains. I'm done being at this plateau that was a mental plateau. I did it to myself 100%. I just wasn't, I didn't have like that drive, that aggression to really push and work for something, which is also why I want to do a show. It gives me a goal, right? It gives me something to look forward to that I have to be accountable for and that I have to show up for and that I want to show up for at my very best possible. So that's a big thing for me is I want to come into this as hard and aggressive as possible and give it my absolute best, right? So like that's awesome. So then also is like I don't know if I said it or not, but I am natural and like that's why I was saying this is a very realistic physique, right? Like there's nothing about my physique that's like, wow, that's crazy. You know, it's very average, very attainable through proper diet and hard work. And probably like realistically, if you have half decent genetics, a year and a half, 2 years. Just because I slacked off for a year and a half, you know? So because this morning I weighed in at 186 and I'm about 6'2". I'm probably sitting between 13 to 16% body fat right now. I'm not overly lean. I'm not overly fat. I'm at a pretty good, healthy weight where I feel good. I have a ton of energy. And I usually perform the best in the gym around this weight. I'm still trying to get a little heavier just because mass moves mass. If you have a little more weight on your frame, you can move a little bit more weight in the gym, which I'm not an overly weight pushing person anyways. I'm not going for the big heavy bench, a big heavy squat, a big heavy deadlift. I'm much more in a controlled 8 to 12 range. So not that I'm pushing crazy weight anyways, but it'll make my sets of 8 to 12 a heavier weight, you know? I will get stronger having more weight on my frame. So it will just help overall in my lifts, which is never a bad thing, right? So yeah, I've been lifting for a little over 3 years. And like I said, a year and a half of that was kind of garbage training, like, you know, not great in terms of bodybuilding. For just being healthy, it was great. I was going to the gym, I was doing my sets, I was getting my heart rate up, I was moving every day, which there's nothing wrong with that. You can't be mad about that. And if that's your goal, that is awesome. But I just want to put on as much mass onto my frame as possible in the next calendar year and then to diet down and step on stage. So I just think that, like, for me, this whole YouTube channel is just mainly about just being accountable, right? Holding myself accountable and the fact that somebody else can be watching me as motivation or could potentially see this and be like, man, I want to follow this guy, right? Like, I want to be someone that people can be like, wow, okay, he trains hard. He works his butt off. He gives everything he has every time in the gym. I never want somebody to watch something I put out and be like, huh, that's like, you think you're going to compete in bodybuilding, training like that, eating like that? Like, I want to be a standard. I want to be a bar that people are trying to hold themselves to, you know, because I hold myself to such a high standard, and I do it to myself watching YouTube. You know, like I'll watch these, all the big guys, right? You have your Sam Suleks, you have, Jeff Nipper, like just to name a few that right off the top of my head. And like I watch all of the big fitness influencers, right? And I see what they do. I watch their training videos. I watch their tips, like because I have a NOSM certified personal training certificate, and I'm still always learning. And especially when it comes to terms of pure bodybuilding and hypertrophy, there's so much knowledge out there, and there's so much that is so opinionated that I think grasping all the different opinions and kind of trying everything, figuring out what works for you and what does best for you, because everyone's body is a little different and you're going to respond to something different than I might respond to. So just, I lost my train of thought. I started rambling and oh, I know what I wanted to say. So I was gonna say that I'm like another reason. Okay, let's try it again. So what I wanted to say is that I don't feel like a lot of the influencers, right, are very practical to necessarily look up to, right? Because yes, they're giving you these tips and they're telling you how to grow and how to get better in the gym and in your lifts, right? That's awesome. But that's their job. Like 24/7, their job is to make content, push content out, and give new ideas, create new content. So you're going to get some stuff that's just like, what? Whereas for me, right, I feel like I'm a much more realistic approach to what training for the average person is. It's I work in the morning, right? And then I get off of work and then I get to go to the gym. The gym isn't my work as much as I would love for it to be. And that's the goal one day is to make health and fitness my job, whether it's through personal training or through content creation. I would love for health fitness to be my career. And that is the goal. That is the plan. But I just feel like some of those people are so like it's such a disconnect from what the general average day-to-day gym goer who might be an aspiring bodybuilder is really trying to do because they don't get it, like they don't go to work from 9 to 5 or whatever hours you work. And like for me, I work two jobs, right? So I work my main job and then I also work at Lululemon just part-time. Um, and mainly just because I love the clothes, so the discount is unbeatable. But like I feel like that's a very standard person right now in the world is like working 1 to 2 jobs. Like you're very busy, and especially me, a 22-year-old. Like I have friends that want to go out. I have friends that want to hang out, just do stuff. Like everyone in my age range is very active and wanting to do things, hang out, go see a show, go to a movie, like just very busy, right? And I feel like that's a lot of things that don't necessarily get captured or seen on the majority of fitness, like YouTube, social media, is just like, how do you still achieve and chase those goals that you have while still being a normal, average, everyday person? So I'm just hoping that I can kind of bridge that gap a little bit and be a little bit more of the realistic, like, hey, this is, if you really want to try and compete, like, this is what it takes. You have to go bust your ass at work and then you got to go bust even harder in the gym. Whoa. But, it's just like, I think I'm more of a realistic approach to the average, like starting off bodybuilder. The person that is just looking to dabble a little bit, and thinks that might be something they want to do, but they're not sure. Which is me, right? Like I think I want to do bodybuilding and compete, but I have no clue. I've never went through the process. I've never tried to do it before, so I think I'm just a little bit better of a realistic approach to the average first time bodybuilder. So I hope that makes sense. If not, that's okay because I'm kind of rambling a little bit. I had a little like note sheet in front of me here. That's why I keep looking down. Just like it's not a note sheet, but it's just like my pinpoints to be like, go off that, go off that. And just so I didn't start rambling and lose track, but then I started rambling and lost track anyways. So I think that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. Appreciate you listening to me ramble. And I hope you stick around and follow the journey because it's going to be awesome. And you got to enjoy the journey more than the destination because that's what it's all about, guys. So have a great day. Later.